Good morning, everybody. We're on Daf Chofei Amud Aleph, 13 lines from the top. Maseches Gittin Bavli. Bo minei Rav Yeshaya Rav Yehuda. Rav Yeshaya asked Rav Yehuda, Omer LaLavler. Somebody told the scribe, should write.
What's Lavlar is Lavlar a scribe?
Yeah. So if he told the scribe, should write the get. He had two wives with the same name. Write the get for. Write the name, and for whichever one comes out of the door first. So he doesn't know which one's going to come out of the door first. But do we say that that you're allowed to do such a thing? Ma, what's the din? It's an interesting question. It's the idea of berero. Do we say berero? That you could retroactively say this is the woman for which you had the intent. I'm related to Nisu. He said it was taught in our Mishna. Yes, and we can't we see from our Mishnah that you can't tell the scribe that it should be for whoever I want. So there's no such thing as bereda. The problem is, Esvei is a question. It says, someone who tells his sons, I'm going to shech the korban Pesach for whoever goes first to Yerushalmi. Whoever goes first to Yerushalmi, for him, I have in mind when I'm shechting the korban Pesach that he'll be part of my group. The first one who comes in, his head, most of his body, he gets his part. And not only that, he allows his brothers as well be part of the group. Yeshaya, my son, why are you comparing Psachim to Gittin? These are your questions from Psachim that we see there is.
That's what I was wondering about as well. What's the connection between?
Well, we see over there that even though you don't know which one is going to come into Yerushalmi first, nevertheless, the one who comes in first is the one who gets it. So we say berera. So why can't you apply it across the board, both by Psachim and by Gittin? But he says it's different over there. The only reason why he's saying it is to make sure that they make themselves quickly to be how do you say lezarzon, fastidious, to make sure that they do it with alacrity. We see clearly the Mishna says, first one who goes, not only does he become part of the korban Pesach, but he also makes all of his brothers as well to be part of the korban Pesach.
Here comes Baruch.
If you're going to say that really he had in mind for all of them, Shaper, it makes sense that the first brother is able to allow all the other brothers to join in.
Where?
If you're going to say that the father didn't have in mind for the other brothers, is it possible to add them in after the shchita? No, you can't do that. But it says in the Mishna, they could join the group, they could leave the group until the shchita, but after the shchita, you can't join the group anymore. It has to be all that says a lie. That's when you're allowed to do it. We're now in Daf Chofei Amud Aleph, about 15 lines at the bottom. The line starts with Yishchat. There's a supporting brayso. There were girls who came first before the boys. They ran to Yerushalmi. The girls had the alacrity. The girls were the ones who were quick to do the mitzvah. The boys were lazy. They were slow. But still, everyone was part of the korban Pesach. So it's not a ride for bereda. It has nothing to do with bereda. Abaye said, "Kaboy minei."
Enough charge.
I
couldn't find your charger, so I used mine.
Abaye says like this: it's two different cases. The case you're asking, whichever girl comes out of the house first, is not dependent on you, it's dependent on the girl. Now, the case in our Mishnah where it does not work is it's talking about where you said whoever I decide later. If you say whoever I decide later, that's different. You can't do that. You have to decide right away. But if you make it depend on
where are we?
We're on Daf Chofei Amud Aleph. 15 lines at the bottom. The line starts with Yishchat. We're now in Daf Chofei Amud Aleph. We're on 13 lines on the bottom. So his question is, how can you ask about Bereda with the guy himself? If the guy himself says, write it to sold subscribe, write it for whoever I want, I'm going to decide later. You can't do that. But maybe you could have the girl, whichever girl comes up first. That will be that. There you could say
You could have a girl. What did you say about a girl?
If you say the get should go to the wife, whichever who comes out of the house first, maybe that could work because it's not dependent on you; it's dependent on her. So the answer is Toile B'das Achedim. Oh, sorry. And then he asks from the other case, the case of Toile B'das Achedim by the Korban Pesach. Well, why are you bringing these two cases? They're not the same case. That's what Abai says. That's Abai's point. Rava answers Abaya. My question, what's your question? The opinion that holds of Breda doesn't make a difference if it's Toile B'das Atzmei on yourself or depending on others. Islay Breda, Saivi, no matter what, he holds a Breda. The opinion that holds that there's no Breda, he doesn't make a difference. So that's what we're answering from our Mishnah. It's enough. It's across the board. We don't differentiate in Breda itself. Abai wanted to say there's a chiluk. Maybe there's no chiluk. Maybe there's no difference. Mashasha told Rav of Rabbi Yehuda, the opinion of Rabbi Yehuda, the Toile B'das Atzmei leisle Breda. If you make it depend on yourself, you say whoever I'm going to decide, there's no Breda. You can't do that. But if you're dependent on others, he holds a Breda. Where do we see this? Toile B'das Atzmei leisle Breda. The Tanya says in the Bryce. Someone who buys wine from the kutim. Before we made exeda that their wine is like yain nesach. We have an issue about trumas and maisus. Do they tithe? You have to tithe it. It's like an amoritz. Problem is, how do you tithe something? You separate it, right? We're talking about wine here. How do you separate? How are you going to separate some wine? You need like a jug or a bowl. Let's say you have a big barrel of wine and you don't have a separate jug with which to separate the trumas and maisus. So what do? You want to drink the wine. We're choshed that they didn't do trumas and maisus. So you have to be ma'aser. It's not like an amaretz. I said it's like an amaretz. It's worse than amaretz. You have to be ma'aser. You have to give maiser. So what do? You say 2 lug out of the 100, 2%. That's the benity, 1/50th. Is considered truma. Asara ma'aser rishon, 10% is ma'aser rishon. Really, it's 9.8, but the Mishna rounds it up because there's only 98 left. Once you give the first 10%, how much is left? There's 88 left. So you give 9. 10% of 88 is 9, around. Tisha ma'aser sheni. Umeichal. The 9 that's the ma'aser sheni, you don't even have to save it for the end. That you could be mechalel on mois. You could deconsecrate it by transferring the value, the sacredness of the 9 lug of a yayin to money. You could do that with ma'aser sheni. That's the opinion of Rabbi Meir. Rabbi Yehuda, Rabbi Yosef, Rabbi Shimon. Rabbi Yehuda, Rabbi Yosef and Rabbi Shimon say it's forbidden. Why is it forbidden? Why would they say it's forbidden?
Why would they take what?
They hold there's no such thing as breda. You can't retroactively say because you can't separate the wine. Because you can't separate the wine into a separate jug. You can't say that retroactively this is the wine that I had in mind. There's no breda. You're toile b'das atzmei, there's no breda. You're not allowed to do that. You have to separate it before you drink it. You have to find the jug. You have to figure it out. You can't just say later on, I'll figure it out. However, when you're dependent on others, they do hold a breda. Rabbi Yehuda holds a breda. It says in the Mishna, Mahi ba'isen hayamin. Let's say you say to a woman, let's say someone says to his wife, this is your get from now if you die from this sickness. Because he said, me'achshav, it's a get. Now, what's her status while she's ill? Is she considered divorced or not? In other words, he basically saying, this is your get. If you die from the sickness, a moment before you die, it's going to be a get. But what is she considered retroactively? It's as if she had a get from before. But what is she all those days while she's sick? Either says she's like an Eishesish. And Rashi explains, therefore, if she's married to a Kohen, she's allowed to eat Trumas. And if she's Mizaneh, she has the punishment of Eishes Kohen, she gets chenek, she gets choked. Only when she dies is it considered a get.
It's considered a get when he dies.
What?
It's
When she dies. When she dies.
Yes, it's just something like a will then. It only takes effect when the person dies.
In get lacher means he can't give a get after somebody dies because he said me'achshav from now. It's considered good. But the problem is we don't know if she's going to die or live from this sickness. So what's he was told? He was told b'das achedim. Who did he make his t'nai depend upon? Hashem. Hashem will decide if you will live or die. So we say yes, breda. Mishas nesino. It's nisbader that she was able to die. She was going to die from the sickness. Therefore, it's a get from the moment that he gave it. Can't compare it to other conditions. Other conditions, you're able to do it. It's up to you. You can do it. Here, however, it's not up to you. We don't know if it's going to happen or not. So l'chayda yesh breda because he's toilet b'das achedim yesh breda. It's Rashi's explanation. So the Gemara says, Amar leira b'shash l'rova, Reb Shimon. The toilet b'das atzmei lesle breda. We said before, Reb Shimon doesn't hold the toilet b'das atzmei with the case of the wine. Lesle breda, you have to separate the wine before you drink it. Separate the tithes. But hada maron, like we just said, there's another case. The Tanya harini boyalei chamanas sheyirtzab. Let's say someone says to a woman, "I want to be boil you. I want to have relations with you, l'shem kedushin, on condition that my father wants." So that's the Tanakama says, even if the father doesn't want, she's still mekudeshes. Because really, a person is not going to be do znus. He's not going to have bi'ila znus. He's not going to be with someone for immorality. Shimon ben Yehuda, Shimon ben Shimon, Rotzav b'Kodesh, Slay Rotzav Enim b'Kodesh. It depends on the father. Shimon says, if the father wants, she's mekudeshes. If not, she's not mekudeshes. And this is breda. This is breda. Retroactively, it's clarified. She's mekudeshes or not. Amrlei bein the Rabbi ben Shimon lishna tel b'das atzmei shal tel b'das chedim isluhu breda. They hold a breda in all cases. So why by the wine are they strict when it comes to meiser and trumas and meisers? Over there, there's a reason that stated nothing to do with breda. Are you not worried that the jug of wine will split and then you won't have had the opportunity to separate the trumas? Because you never had a chance to actually ever set aside the truma. He says, it's true, but I'm not worried. It's true, but I'm not worried. It's a problem, but I'm not worried. Okay, we'll go to the Yerushalmi now.
Okay, Yerushalmi.
Beginning of the third Perek. So it's in my part, it's daf yud beis amud beis. In the old Yerushalmi, it's daf yud dalet amud aleph.
Is it halacha dalet?
No, the beginning of the third Perek, first Mishna.
Oh, the third Perek. So it's called get. Right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Okay.
That's good.
Mishna. Kol get shenichtav shalei l'shem isha pasol. I don't know the Wi-Fi.
Okay.
Sorry. Kol get shenichtav shalei l'shem isha pasol. Any get that was written not for the sake of a woman is pasol. You have to write it for the sake, the shma. says v'kosav lo lishmo. You have to write it for the sake of woman. Ketzat. So we have 4 cases in the Mishnah, like we just said in the Bavli. If you're passing in the marketplace and you heard the sound of scribes, they were writing exactly the details of you and your wife. You're not allowed to use it. Yes, we can. But even if you had in mind to divorce your wife with a get, you found someone with the same names, he can't use your get. It has to be for exactly, even if it's the same name, it has to be you have had in mind that person. Yes, we can. Yes, even if you have 2 wives with the same name. If you wrote the older one, you can't use it for the younger one. Yes, we can. Even more than that. I'm the lavler, the livlar. If you told the scribe, write it, and whoever I want, I'm going to use it for. But you're not allowed to use it because it has to be lishma, and there's no breda. You can't retroactively do such a thing.
So does that mean that, say, it has to be for Rivka? It can't be for Sarah. So you read it. So it's designated for that particular woman, right?
Yeah, even if it's someone with the same name, she can't use it. It has to be for the woman that you wrote.
How did they identify in those days? They didn't have identity cards with numbered.
Your name and your father's name.
Go by the father's name?
Yeah.
You sounds kind of iffy.
And nowadays we have family names. Well, you could have someone with the same family name as you.
Well, we have family names, and we have.
Let's say you have another David Smolkin.
Pardon me? Yes.
So then you have someone with the same name as you. Get mixed up. Okay, but you're probably right. It is more rare for someone to have the same exact name as you as. Well, it depends. Let's say you have a big family, a Chabad family, for example. So a lot of Mendels, in every branch of the family.
Mendels and Mushka, a lot of Mushkas, right?
Yeah. Okay, so the Gemara says, "Kol get shenichtav shalei l'shem isha v'chulu mahu makrin." What does it mean that the scribes were makrin? What does that mean, makrin? Who were they reading it to? Melamdei tinoikos. The teachers or the scribes are reading it to their students. Mao yoisim mikain. Why does the Mishnah say yoisim mikain? What's the yesim mikain? Why is each case more than the other? Taman lo nichtav l'shem get, but Ramhacham nichtav l'shem get. In the case of the scribe, they didn't write it for a get; they just wrote it because they were practicing. Second case, you were writing it for a get. Mao yoisim mikain. Why does it say yoisim mikain after that? Taman lo nichtav l'lishma v'lishma, but Ramhacham nichtav l'shma v'lishma l'shma. Over there, it wasn't written for his sake or her sake, the husband or the wife. Here, at least it was written for his sake, but not for her sake, because he had 2 wives with the same name. Now, yes, we can. Why does it say yes, we can? In the fourth case, in the third case, it was written for him, but not for his wife's name, because he wanted to switch it from one wife to the other. Here, however, it was written for his sake and for her sake. It was breda. For the first moment, it wasn't written for her. It was just the mafreya. Has to be Kodesh Lishma Mishod Rishayin. We don't hold the Breda. This Mishnah does not hold the Breda. So other opinions that do hold the Breda, like we brought in the Bavli. Rav Amar Kula Meinam Psulim Chutz Min Achron Shu Pasal. Rav says all these Gittin, they won't make her Pasal Min Hakuna. It's Legamri, not a get. If her husband is a Kohen, she's not going to be a problem. She's not going to have an issue. She could stay remarried to him, except for the last one. The last one is a problem. The Chumrah will say yes breda because of the shittas that hold of yes breda. So if she's married to a Kohen, she's not going to be allowed to stay with him. He says they're all possible. All of them have reach haget, except for the first one that it was written by scribes. It wasn't l'shem gedushin at all. Rabbi Bar Chinan Amar kulam psulim. Rabbi Chinan is a strict. He says all of them, even the first one, has a reach haget. Mil say that Reish Lakish Amar kulam psulim. From the opinion of Reish Lakish, all of them are not paisel. Kulan einam sulim, einam paisel. Changes the girsa. According to Reish Lakish, there's no issue whatsoever. Reish Lakish Amar Kosav Tarfa B'Teifis Patzal. Reish Lakish said if he wrote the Torah for the Teifis, You wrote the names and the details with the toifus. Shaloi lishma. It's not a good get. Milso the Rabbi Yochanan Amar Kulan in Milso Rabbi Yochanan Amar Kulan Psulan. Rabbi Yochanan says, Rabbi Yochanan doesn't hold of the Bchalal says you don't need ksiv lishma. So Adarab, he'll say they're all possible. Rabbi Yochanan Amar Kosav Tarfa B'Teifus Kosher. Rabbi Yochanan says, but the Eved, if he wrote the names of the woman without knowing who he wanted to have in mind for, and only later did he give it to her, it's a kosher to get. So for sure you're gonna have an issue. For sure it's going to be considered a good get. Milsa de Rabbi Lazar, Amar Kula Nedim Sulan. So what's Rabbi Lazar? What's the story of Rabbi Lazar? Rabbi Lazar Shoal. Rabbi Lazar asked, Kosav Kedushin Shekos, Ksav Kedushin Shekos Shalei Lishmai Maush Yitim Suba Kedushin. Let's say you wrote Kedushin Star. You're allowed to marry a woman with a star. You can engage a betrothed woman with a star. So you wrote a star, but not Lishem Haisha. Is it going to work? Does it have to be Lishma like a get? That's what he said. Min ma the tzrichen lo begittin she'enem psulin from kein shol lo bekedushin. From the fact that Rabbi Lazar has a shaila by kedushin, it must be that it's no issue by gittin. He didn't ask the question by get. He only asked it by kedushin because by get it's for sure not a problem. The question is by kedushin. In Tamer tzrichen lo begittin, if you're going to say you have this shaila by get. Lo yashileno, lo yishalena b'kedushin. If you're going to say that he had this question by a get, we wouldn't ask it by kedushin. You would ask it by a get. Ma'im gittin al yidei shetzach lishma v'kasser shalei lishma le'nogu b'gedushin. If you're going to say that by Gedushin, where there's a din because of law that has to be lishma, and you're going to say shaloi lishma, you have a question, you would say that he had a shitta that it's a problem. Kedushin shein etzarich lishma, kedushin that doesn't need to be lishma because of shaloi lishma. And you wrote it and it didn't shit himself kedushin. How much more so? You should require. It should be considered like kedushin. So the Gemara asks, if Kedushin doesn't need Lishma, so then we should have the answer that it's a problem. If you're Makadosh, a woman, even if it was Shalei Lishma, you use a star that was Shalei Lishma, she should be considered Mikudeshes. He did answer it. And the only reason why we know that you have star by Kedushin is from Gedish and Mav and Mikudeshes. So we learned that by Kedushin you do need Lishma, and just like by Gedushin, so too by Kedushin it's not going to work. If you have Kedushin Shalei Lishma, she's not betrothed to you. It has to be by Kedushin also Lishma. But Velazar bar Yesi asked in front of Rabbi Yesi, from our Mishnah, it's when you say, if you say write it for whoever I want, it'll be possible. It's a get puzzle. You can't have a get for two women with the same name.
What if one of the women? What if they live in different places? So one lives in Haifa and one lives in Akko. Is that okay? Because
B'chalal, it's okay as long as you know exactly who you're writing it for. But if you don't know who you're writing it for, then you have an issue. But yeah, if they live in different places, then there's discerning different details. So obviously you're going to know which one it's for. You can't even write a star without having in mind because, like you said, they live in different places. So the question is, the kavasov shtei gittim psulim b'shtei noshim. What if you have two gittim with the same, but you don't know which get belongs to which one? Is it puzzle? What's going to happen here? Omer lei. Baini. The get is also going to be puzzle if it's two gittin. Or bo. Is this a question? It's obvious that it's puzzle. It's not a good get. So didn't we have a Mishnah? Didn't we learn in Perek that if he said two gittin and they got mixed up, you just give them both to each woman. Over there, the get was written lishma. It was just that they got mixed up. But in this case, however, it's different. Why don't we say, we're asking on our Mishnah, why don't we say that the moment you give it to your wife, it's as if that's the woman who you had in mind for? This is the opinion of Shimon. Shimon hold the lacely bread, the Tani. It was taught. He told an Uman, make for me 2 bells, one for the door and one for a behemoth. So the one you're making for the door is not going to be Mikabel Tuma. The one that's made for the animals Mikabel Tuma because it's metaltalin. The one that's made for the door is not going to be Mikabel Tuma. Make 2 mats for me. One of them is to sit down on, and one of them, or to lie down, and one of them is for a tent. The one that's for a tent is not Mikabel Tuma. 2 sheets. One for an oil, one for lying down, and one la'idis. They're all tummy until you mefarish. Shimon Matar. Shimon says it's tar because he holds that where it could be go kula until you're mefarish adaram. Until you're mefarish which one you want for the one that's going to be Mikabel Tuma, then only then will it be Mikabel Tuma. So according to the Shimon Mitaher, we don't say Breda. He says he's Mitar Lakula. Tanakam is Mitame Lachumra. Shimon is Mitar Lakula. So we see there's no such thing as Breda. Until you're mefarish. We're on the next page now. Just like he says over there, the kli has to be mekudesh mishari shayna. Until you're mefarish mishari shayna, we can't say the mafreya one of them is going to be tummy. So to here you have to mefarish which woman you want to be. You want to be megarish mishari shayna. Hanania says our Mishnah who holds leis beredo doesn't hold the Beredo's opinion of Rebbe. Rebbe says if he wrote a Tanai, it's possible because he doesn't hold the Beredo. If he told her you're muteres l'chol except for so and so, it's possible. Even if you said a bal peh, not allowed to do such a thing. So too in such a case with the ksav, only then will it be possible. Otherwise, it's fine. You say you're mutter for everybody except for so and so because it's paisel b'peh. It's also paisel b'ksav. But if you said this is your get in condition, you give me 200 zuz because it's not a problem if you do it b'peh. It's also not a problem b'ksav. The machlekes is only if you're mevatel, if you didn't do the Tanai. But if you did the Tanai, Rabbi will say that it works. Haru Eimer, Kol HaTnayin she'isneinu begittin deloike Rabbi. If you're not going to say this, any Tanai that we say Maseches Gittin is not going to be like Rabbi, that doesn't make sense. According to Rebbe, if you're miskayim the Tanai, ain't breda. Ay, l'chayda. The difference is like this: if you're koisef al manas, if you're noisin al manaskein, it's fine. But if you're koisef al manaskein, if you write the get al manaskein, then it's a problem. And in our Mishnah, it's as if you wrote it al manaskein because you said whichever woman I want. So it's as if it's l'chatchila, it's not a get because you put a condition in the get itself. Rabbi Ezra, Ba, Kaim Rav Mana, Do Amra, In Teifsin Kenebi. He
You're not
said,
allowed to have a condition in a get? Or
No,
you're not allowed?
you're not allowed, according to Rebbe, you're not allowed to write a condition on the get.
According to
This
Rebbe.
opinion, according to this opinion.
Uh-huh.
Rav Ezra Bar Kaibi Rav Mana Do Amra in Teifsin Kerebi. According to Rebbe, that he said Bal Peh, if you put a condition Bal Peh, it's okay, but Biksav, if you write it, it's a problem. Let's say L'chayra, what about the Toifus? L'chayra, according to him, you can't write it even after the Toifus. So you're going to say the Toifus also has to be Lishma. The Toifus also has a din that you can't write. You write it tonight in there. Or Merlei, not boy, mean Rabbi, you could have Yudah, the Rabbi Yudah place of the Toifus. Yeah, he holds like Rabbi Yudah that if Toifus also has to be Lishma. So therefore, you can't write a condition even by the Toifus. Shlokish Amar Kulat Nain Baisim Begat Divra Akel. Shlokish says everybody holds that a Tanai is a problem if you write it into the get. Also, Uvdo came to Rabbi Yirmiyah of Avik Rish Lakish is a story that happened like in front of Rabbi Yirmiyah, and he did like Rish Lakish, that there was a Tanai in the get, and he said it's possible. You left Rabbi Yochanan and you're doing like Rish Lakish. Amarlei, how do you say to Rabbi Yochanan, where you also the Rish Lakish lav hariyo? The psak of Rabbi Yochanan is only a psak, and Rish Lakish is not. Is not. He heard the lashon of the Mishna, and that's his psak. It wasn't even his own psak. He had a lashon of a Mishna. The couple of Rabbi Yochanan and begin this palgelo. He was mufalpul to find out the pshat, the halacha. When he heard a brisa that was opposite Rabbi Yochanan, he relied on it. Otherwise, he would agree with Rabbi Yochanan. Begin mafkin ovid mine, because he had a kad shom masnisin who samach alei. He's not trying to argue with Rabbi Yochanan to argue with him, because there was an afkamino that came out from this. When he heard a Mishnah who samach alei, had the leisham masnisim avatul daitim became a dait to Rabbi Yochanan. When he heard the Mishnah, he was mevatel his das from in front of Rabbi Yochanan.